Hey there, welcome to my channel Evolving Being. In today's video, we are going to talk about New Zealand as a study destination. And we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Ashish Suri. He has been the market manager South Asia for University of Waikato, based in New Zealand. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So, a warm welcome to you on the channel Evolving Being. For the benefit of our audience members, if you could tell us about the rich experience you bring in the education sector and how you came to know about New Zealand and your experience about the study opportunities there.
Thanks, Garima, for giving the opportunity to be on this channel today, and I think it's going to be an interesting one. Coming to me as an individual with a 16 years of a hands-on experience in domestic and an international education, New Zealand has been very close to heart. It's been last 5 years working with the one of the largest vocational education providers in the country, and then moved on to the university sector. And you pronounced it right, it's University of Waikato. That's where I've been working with the international office, driving and mentoring students to look at the New Zealand as a destination and also to look at New Zealand and university both for their higher education. Coming to why New Zealand and why it's exciting, there are a few reasons which makes it very popular. And definitely one of them is there are only 8 universities in New Zealand, you'll be surprised to know. All are public universities and they are ranked amongst the top 3% of the universities worldwide as per QS ranking. A second factor is it's one of the only or the first countries to introduce a code of pastoral care for international students. So there's a lot of focus on that word of care, being taken care when students come in the country, which again gives a lot of kind of a solace to parents when their kids travel all the way to New Zealand for higher education. We also have the all the qualifications what a student does in New Zealand are globally recognized, which means if they travel overseas for their higher education, they can go and study anywhere in the world. So these are some very quick facts what makes New Zealand exciting. Apart from that, we are the least corrupt country in the world, a country which is ranked amongst the second best in the Global Peace Index. I think these are some unique factors which are exciting for students to look at New Zealand as a destination for their higher education.
And also, I think New Zealand in the first wave was doing very well in terms of how it took care of the COVID cases. It was one of
Yes.
the case studies that the world was looking at. So, could you also
And
tell us a little bit about how, during COVID times, especially when international travel is not as free flowing as it used to be, and students who are making career choices at this point, how does New Zealand play a picture there?
I think it's been an interesting time period for last 12 to 14 months for us. The reason for that is the pandemic hit in when the economy was at its peak and the borders got completely shut down. But the government has been very, very supportive. So it's been one of the few countries where the government has gone out and provided wage subsidies to international students, given that given point of time, if they would have lost their part-time employment opportunities, they have been able to provide them with a hardship fund allowance and all those financial support, apart from a mental support provided by each university in the country, has been a kind of a very satisfying factor for students to look at settling down. When it comes to how we have managed it, I think it's been phenomenal leadership of Jacinda Ardern, that she's been hands-on involved with the team to ensure that each and every person is taken care of. And when these COVID cases were coming along, and we have been one of the very conservative countries in the world when it comes to border restrictions. And till date, the borders are closed for outsiders to come to the country. So closing borders and making it a country where the domestic people who are living in could actually get that freedom to live freely, and that's been one of the key factors wherein we have been managed to wipe off COVID as of today, because we have as low as 6 active cases as on today.
I mean, given the fact that now COVID cases are rising in India rapidly, that looks like a great place to be. Uh,
Yes, and I'm not sure whether you've been following it up, but the country is completely open. There is no requirements for masks to be weighed for the people in New Zealand. They can walk freely through a restaurant and have their cup of coffee. They can walk freely in their car and visit the tourist places and have a fun around with their family.
so let's move a little bit into the education system. You mentioned that there are only 8 universities and all of them are public universities. That's very different from how higher ed is looked at in India. So, just for the benefit of a student who doesn't know anything about New Zealand, if we could briefly, outline exactly what the education system is like and how does it speak to an Indian student.
So, when it comes to New Zealand, we have been following the footsteps of UK higher education system. So, a lot of things you could correlate to what how the UK higher education system is being followed up. At the country, with the 8 universities, we have program which starts at the undergraduate level, which are 3 year bachelor's qualification. So, if a student is coming in from a country like India, and if they have completed their high school from a CBSE or an ISC board with a minimum scores of 75% or more, they are eligible to apply for a 3 year undergrad qualification at all the 8 universities. If they are coming in from an international baccalaureate or from A levels, very much accepted into the country. As well, we do have research focused bachelor's qualifications as well. So, if a student wants to have a research angle to their qualification at undergraduate level, they can always do a bachelor's degree with an honors one, which are 4 years undergrad qualification, where the first 3 years are more academic oriented and the final year is very research centric. When it comes to PG and master's program, we all 8 universities have postgrad qualifications and masters which are traditionally of 1 year, and these are conversion masters, like very focused on business management, information technology, or professional accounting. But we do have masters which are of 18 months and 24 months as well. So masters which involves a bit of research work or has a focus towards research being one of the key element of learning outcomes, they could be of 18 to 24 months. And definitely all 8 universities also have postdoctoral qualification as well, which are 3 year full-time research degrees.
One clear advantage that I see is that for masters, one can save time and do a master's in 1 year compared to India, where currently it is 2 years. But of course, let's see how the new economic policy,
Yeah,
education policy kicks in. But for now, clearly, it's very similar to the UK system where it
yes,
takes lesser time to complete your education, which also
right.
means you save money in terms of your expenses and cost of living, etc. And we'll come to that in a bit. But
No.
while on the subject of the universities, if you could also shed light on what are the popular courses that students take in these universities.
So all 8 universities are very diverse in nature. There are only 2 universities in New Zealand which have a medicine school. One of them is University of Auckland and the other one is University of Otago. But rest of all the other universities, it's a diversity of qualifications available. The popular courses specific to the Indian students are definitely related to Bachelor's of Business Management. Most of the Indian students still love to study business overseas. But apart from that, New Zealand has fantastic courses in the field of biotechnology, which is very popular, in the field of information technology, both at undergrad and postgrad level, bachelor's of engineering and project management, as well in tourism and hospitality. So a lot of chunk of students from India come to New Zealand to study tourism, and we being a service-based economy and tourism being our third biggest contributor to the gross domestic product, there's a phenomenal demand of employment opportunities for tourism professionals to come over and look out for employment opportunities.
And what kind of students do you see going to New Zealand from India? In the sense, are there any specific background requirements that are there, or any trends that you observe that largely students from this domain are pursuing those kind of courses there?
At the moment, if we look at the diversity, it would be like 70% of students coming from India are more for postgrad qualifications, 30% are for undergrad. Now, most of these students coming for the postgrad are very focused on doing a technical qualification in the country. So they are choosing programs which are engineering one, like could be the Masters of Engineering Practice, or it could be Masters of Engineering as well, and further specialize in the area. There's a phenomenal demand for IT qualification. So in New Zealand, we call it as ICT, Information Communication and Technology sector. So we have seen a good amount of growth of students coming in this particular sector in last 5 years. And when it comes to specific to undergrad, medicine is always popular, but it's very tough to get into medicine programs. So students from India still prefer to come in for health related qualifications or related to biotechnology, business management, and last but not the least is definitely tourism and hospitality again.
Regarding medicine, is the degree recognized in India in the sense that, at some, for instance, when I was researching UK, I discovered that the law degree that's offered by UK is recognized by the Bar Council of India. I mean, is there something similar for medicine also there?
Not really, Garima, not much. So if a student does a medicine qualification back in New Zealand, it's valid across Australasia, which is Australia and New Zealand put together, but not very much in India at the moment.